Welcome to Numbers, the book of Numbers. I'm just going to cover a few things that came out of the book of Numbers for me. The first one, the wilderness is not wasted. In the Bible, the wilderness is never just a place, it's a process, a season, a mirror. And the book of Numbers is the story of a people still learning who God is and who they are in the space between promise and fulfillment. Sounds familiar, huh? Another theme, the census, identity before movement. Numbers begins with a census, but it's not about math. It's about identity, belonging, and purpose. Every tribe named, every family seen, every person counted. God is saying you matter, you have a place, you belong to something bigger. And it's very interesting when you go through Numbers and see how God does that. 40,000 over here, 50,000 over here. God says, Moses, number the people. Before God leads them forward, he organizes them, he centers them, he places his presence in the middle of their camp. Because before God moves you forward, he puts your life in order. And even in Numbers, God starts to reiterate some things about the laws. So you'll go into that in Numbers. Again, very interesting read. I can't get over saying it like that because it's very interesting. Another thing, the wilderness reveals what comfort hides. So in Numbers, we'll start to see some complaining, more complaining. The wilderness exposes what comfort hides: hunger, fear, frustration, old patterns. Israel complains about food, and God provides. They complain about water, and God provides. They struggle with leadership and even with God Himself. Miriam and Aaron, Moses' siblings, speak against him, and consequences follow. Moses married an Ethiopian woman, and they spoke against that. And God had to get them together real quick. Said, hey, Moses is meek. I called Moses. Before we judge them, we should recognize ourselves, because pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. The wilderness is where God exposes what's still broken so he can heal it. Another thing was a spies, faith or fear. The report you believe shapes your future. 12 spies see the same land. 10 see giants. 2 see God. Those two are Joshua and Caleb, the only two from a previous generation that were able to go into the promised land. Fear spreads quickly, faith feels quiet. And Israel chooses the wrong report: fear over faith, comfort over calling, safety over destiny. And the result? A generation wanders for 40 years, because Numbers teaches us this: your future isn't shaped by what you see, but by who you trust. Again, Joshua and Caleb were the only two from their generation who were able to see the promised land. Another thing, the wondering, God's faithfulness outlasts our failures. Numbers is brutally honest about human failure, complaining, rebellion, doubting, running in circles, but it's even more honest about God's faithfulness. He doesn't abandon his people. He feeds them, he leads them, he disciplines them, but he doesn't leave them. And slowly, quietly, a new generation rises. A generation ready to trust, ready to follow, ready to enter the promise. And we know there's still some things with that, and that comes out in later books of the Bible, which we'll be getting to. And as I wrap this up, keep in mind the wilderness shapes you for the promise. Numbers isn't a book about wondering, it's a book about becoming. Becoming a people who trust God, becoming a people who remember his faithfulness, becoming a people shaped in the wilderness so they can carry the promise. Because the wilderness is not wasted, it's where God prepares you for what's next. Of course, this is modern day. Hopefully, we can do a little bit better than what some of the children of Israel ended up going through because of their disobedience. So we can actually live to see our promised land. Because it's kind of pointless to go through all of this stuff that we have to go through and then not see the promise, not see the fulfillment of what God said we can have just because of disobedience. Then it's cut off. That could either be cut off realistically or cut off in a different way. So just keep that in mind. Numbers ends with a generation ready to enter the promised land. Again, this is a new generation. But before they step forward, God speaks again. And Deuteronomy is their message. Don't forget. So I'm wrapping this up. Read Numbers. I would say watch this video first if you have a favorite Numbers video. That way you can, and then pray. I always recommend praying and ask God to open up your understanding about the correct interpretation and everything. But there's so many insights, so much to pull from Numbers that's relatable to present day. Some other things that stood out for me was when Korah rose up against Moses. So it was Korah and his crew, and that didn't work out for them. Moses spoke to God and said, don't accept their offering. Don't respect their offering. And God didn't. Moses had to remind Korah and his crew that he was sent by God and that he wasn't doing things on his own. Korah said, hey, who are you? Why you? God said, I called him. Balaam and Balak are also in this story in the book of Numbers. And the mention of the daughters of Zelophehad is in Numbers. So read Numbers with an open mind, open heart. And just keep in mind, God is always there with us to help us with understanding these different books of the Bible, especially Old Testament. So I will see you in Deuteronomy. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. Stay tuned this week for the shorts on Numbers. It'll help it bring it together as well. Thank you for being on this journey with me, and I will see you in the shorts and in Deuteronomy. Take care.